Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. The subject of the discourse today is Rathavinita Sutta, which I mentioned last time. This was in connection with, in the Visuddhimagga, it is said, what exactly is Sila? That is moral purification, leading to purification of mind and then purification of wisdom, and so on. It's a step-by-step development of spiritual perfection. That is the theme of the sutta, of the discourse of Lord Buddha. Now we have translated this sutta from the original Pali, that is in the Majjhima Nikaya. And today I think, before we dilate on the sutta, we analyze thoroughly the very salient points, important points which are important because they relate to our day-to-day spiritual life. Spiritual life is not something you see in the cloud. No, it's a very concrete, methodical development of one's inner possibilities. The mind is a mine. We must know how to exploit that mine and enrich, you see, ourselves spiritually, leading to enlightenment, which simply means freedom from recurring existence. Because we cling to samsara, to worldly existence, we are attached to everything of the world, that we are caught up in the world. It's as simple as that. And if you want to get out of all the sufferings of worldly existence, you will have to get out of this habit of becoming attached to things. And not to be attached to things means not to cling to things. So now, Nibbana has been defined by the Buddha in the sutta as the final freedom from clinging. Because we cling to things in the world, we cling to all the pleasures of the world, cling to the various ideas we have about the world and the life and so on, that we are caught up. But that is life. The nature of life is just that. You get interrupted in 100 different ways, and particularly every time you try to concentrate on something higher and nobler, there it comes. Some interruption, some disturbance, something somewhere. However, now to come back to the point, this sutta has many very important salient points. And before we expand on them, it would be a good idea to read out the sutta as it is, as Lord Buddha has given it, and we have just translated it, and once we go through it, we read it and we understand, then on that an analysis would be very useful. So I would advise everyone to be mindful, to be attentive, because the sutta is very profound. I will read out. Rathavinita Sutta. The theme is 7-step spiritual purification leading to enlightenment. Now, Rathavinita Sutta means a simile of the relay chariots. Now the Venerable Ananda, he memorized everything, and in the first Sanghayana he read out like this. Thus have I heard. Once the Blessed Lord was staying at the Bamboo Grove monastery in the squirrel sanctuary near Rajagaha. Now a number of monks hailing from the native place of the Blessed Lord, having spent the rain's retreat there, went to the Blessed Lord. Having approached the Lord, they bowed down before him and sat down at one side. The Blessed One then asked them, Monks, who is thus deeply esteemed in my native place by his fellow monks in holy life? Now this is the theme is, who is an exemplar of the middle path leading to enlightenment. So continuing the Buddha, he puts the question, who it is who is very deeply esteemed and respected and loved by all monks, local monks in the native place means in Kapilavattu. He asks, who is that monk? Who is an exemplar of the middle path, who has become a master, he has walked on the path himself and reached enlightenment, and therefore is a perfect illustrator of the path. So he says, now a monk, he asked the monk, so a monk, the question is, the Buddha puts the question like this. Now, himself having few wishes, he talks to the fellow monks on the benefits of the fewness of wishes. Himself contented, he talks to the fellow monks on the benefits of contentment. Himself secluded, he talks to fellow monks on the benefits of seclusion. Himself aloof from company, he talks to the fellow monks on the benefits of aloofness. Himself energetic, he talks to the fellow monks on the benefits of rousing energy, self-effort. Himself possessed of virtue, he talks to the fellow monks on the benefits of acquiring virtue. Himself having attained meditative concentration, he talks to the fellow monks on the benefits of attaining meditative concentration. Himself having attained wisdom, he talks to the fellow monks on the benefits of attaining wisdom. Himself having attained deliverance through the Lokuttara Phala, that is the supramundane stages of enlightenment stages. Himself having attained deliverance from samsaric bondage, he talks to the fellow monks on the benefits of attaining deliverance, Nibbana. Himself having attained the knowledge and vision of deliverance. Now a person may think that he has attained Nibbana, but there is no proof. So how to know? So there is a state, there are insights into that by which one has full knowledge and direct vision of the experience of enlightenment, and a person can prove that the person is an enlightened one. And he himself being enlightened that way and having the knowledge of enlightenment and vision, he talks to the fellow monks on the benefits of the attainment of knowledge and vision of deliverance. He is the one who advises, guides, instructs, urges, rouses and encourages his fellow monks in holy life. Thus, the Buddha now says, in this way, who is esteemed in the native place? Who is respected? Who is that monk who himself has got all these 10 qualities of enlightenment, of an exemplar of the attainment of enlightenment? Who being himself that, he now talks only about it to his fellow monks who are also seekers of enlightenment or who have attained enlightenment. So this is the question the Lord put. And he also further said that look here, only such a person can give spiritual advice, spiritual guidance and instruction. He can rouse people, encourage people to move towards enlightenment. So he asked, who is that? The exemplar of the middle path leading to enlightenment. So the monks now replied, Lord, the Venerable Punna Mantani Putta is indeed so esteemed by his fellow monks in holy life in the native place. This is because himself having few wishes, he talks to the fellow monks on the benefits of the fewness of wishes. Himself contented, he talks to the fellow monks on the benefits of contentment. Himself secluded, he talks to fellow monks on the benefits of seclusion. Himself aloof from company, he talks to the fellow monks on the benefits of aloofness, etc. Himself having attained the knowledge and vision of deliverance, he talks to the fellow monks on the benefits of attaining the knowledge and vision of deliverance. Now the Venerable Sariputta, he is the one who advises, guides, instructs, urges, rouses and encourages his fellow monks in holy life because he himself has attained it and having attained he can guide, etc. So the middle path approach to spiritual perfection requires that a person must himself gain before he can actually guide. So that gaining is a process. It is not just suddenly you become enlightened, suddenly you become an exemplar of the middle path and so on. No. It's a process, a step-by-step development, and one has to pursue very patiently and very determinedly. Now, continuing with the sutta, now the Venerable Sariputta, the chief disciple of Lord Buddha, on this occasion was seated near the Blessed Lord. Then it occurred to Venerable Sariputta, it occurred this way, oh, what a gain it is for the Venerable Punna Mantani Putta. Indeed, it is a very great gain for the Venerable Punna Mantani Putta that in the very presence of the Master, his wise fellow monks in holy life praise him so highly, point by point, and that the great Master too fully approves it. Maybe sometime in future we might be able to meet the Venerable Punna Mantani Putta and have some discussion with him. Now this is what Sariputta Bhante, who was seated there, he said this. Then the Blessed Lord after having stayed at Rajagaha, where this a particular talk happened, you see. So, after having stayed in Rajagaha as long as he wanted, then he set out on a Dhamma preaching tour by stages to Savatthi. Wandering from place to place, he eventually arrived at Savatthi. Now at that time, the Blessed Lord was staying at the monastery of Anathapindika in Jeta's Grove near Savatthi. Now the Venerable Punna Mantaniputta heard the Blessed One has arrived at Savatthi and is staying at Anathapindika's monastery in Jeta's Grove. Then the Venerable Punna Mantaniputta, having put his dwelling place, that is his hut, his meditation hut in order, and taking his robe and bowl, set out on a Dhamma preaching tour towards Savatthi. That is from Kapilavattu. Wandering by stages, he eventually arrived at Savatthi and went to Anathapindika's monastery in Jeta's Grove to pay homage to the Blessed Lord. After approaching the Lord and having bowed down before him, he sat down on one side. After the Venerable Punna Mantaniputta had sat down, the Lord instructed, urged, roused and encouraged him with the Dhamma talk. Thereafter the Venerable Punna Mantaniputta, having been instructed, urged, roused and encouraged by the Blessed One's Dhamma talk, greatly rejoicing and filled with delight, he then rose from his seat and after bowing down before the Blessed Lord, kept him on the right side and went towards Andhavana. Andhavana grove, it's a secluded grove a little away from Jetavana, and is named after some blind folks, Andha. So he went there for his day's meditative seclusion. Then a certain monk went to the Venerable Sariputta and told him, Venerable Sir, the Bhikkhu Punna Mantaniputta, about whom you have been always speaking so highly, has just been instructed, urged, roused and encouraged by the Blessed Lord with the Dhamma discourse, and greatly rejoicing and filled with delight in the teachings of the Blessed Lord, he rose from his seat, paid homage by bowing down before the Lord, and after keeping him on his right side, left for the Andhavana, blind man's grove, for his day's meditative seclusion. Then, having quickly picked up a meditation seat, asana, the Venerable Sariputta followed close behind the Venerable Punna Mantaniputta, who was on the way towards Andhavana. While keeping his head inside, he followed him. Now Venerable Punna Mantaniputta entered the Andhavana grove and sat down at the foot of a tree for meditation. Soon the Venerable Sariputta too entered the Andhavana grove and sat down at the foot of a tree for meditation, not very far away from Venerable Mantaniputta. When it was evening, the Venerable Sariputta, having emerged from his meditative absorption, samadhi, went to the Venerable Punna Mantaniputta and warmly exchanged words of greetings with him. When this polite and courteous talk was over, he sat down on one side and spoke to the Venerable Punna Mantaniputta thus. Now this dialogue is very interesting between Venerable Sariputta and the Venerable Punna Mantaniputta. Now the theme of the dialogue is, it's an attainable spiritual goals. That means the 7 stages of purification which are attainable spiritual practices as well as goals. Dialogue between Venerable Sariputta and Venerable Mantaniputta. Now Venerable Sariputta asks, Venerable brother, is the holy life lived under the Blessed Lord? Mantaniputta: yes, Venerable brother. But brother, is it for the purpose of purification of virtue, Shila, that the holy life is lived under the Blessed Lord? Questions. That's Venerable Sariputta questioned this. And answer is, Venerable Mantaniputta says, no brother, it is not for purification of virtue. Then, is it for the purpose of purification of mind that the holy life is lived under the Blessed Lord? No, brother. Then, is it for the purpose of purification of view that the holy life is lived under the Blessed Lord? No, brother. Then, is it for the purpose of purification by overcoming doubt that the holy life is lived under the Blessed Lord? No, brother. So Mantaniputta keeps on saying no, no, no. Then, is it for the purpose of purification by knowledge and vision of what is the path and what is not the path, that the holy life is lived under the Blessed Lord? No, brother. Then, is it for the purpose of purification by knowledge and vision of the way that the holy life is lived under the Blessed Lord? No, brother, he said. Then, is it for the purpose of purification by knowledge and vision of the transcendental path that the holy life is lived under the Blessed Lord? No, brother, he said. Now, brother, when asked, but brother, is it for the purpose of purification of virtue that the holy life is lived under the Blessed Lord? You replied, no, brother. When asked then, is it for the purpose of purification of mind, or purification of view, or purification of overcoming doubt, purification by overcoming doubt, purification by knowledge and vision of what is the path and what is not the path? Then purification by knowledge and vision of the way to Nibbana. Then purification by knowledge and vision that the holy life is lived under the Blessed Lord? You replied, no, brother. So, since he had replied to all the 10 questions, he had said no, 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 Venerable Mantaniputta. So now, he said, one by one he said, well, I asked you, and then you said no, no. Then, Venerable Sariputta asks, well, if that is the case, you said no, no to all, then for the purpose of what? Brother, is the holy life lived under the Blessed Lord? All the 7 Vishuddhis, purifications, you say no. One by one, of course. Then for what purpose? Why are you living the holy life under the Buddha as his disciple? So, to this question also, now he gives a very positive answer saying, brother Sariputta, it is for the purpose of attaining Nibbana, the final freedom, from clinging, that the holy life is being lived by me under the blessed Lord. So whenever Purna Mantani Putta, Punna in Pali, Purna in Sanskrit. Punna Mantani Putta says, it is not merely for purification of virtue, or the other ones one by one, step by step higher. No, the purpose is Nibbana, freedom from samsaric bondages. And that freedom, he describes Nibbana, he defines it clearly, that it is the final freedom from clinging. That means you can be free from clinging for, in a momentary way. If you purify virtue and and then develop that inner, this inborn spiritual, the moral excellence which is within all of us, then also you are able to get out of clinging from certain things, but not all things. Similarly, when you fully purify your mind, not merely just certain mental qualities, but the mind itself, then also certain things are, clinging to certain things can be overcome. But not fully, not entirely, only some. But here, he wants total freedom, the final freedom which can come only from the knowledge and direct vision of Nibbana. You see, that's the last one. Now continuing about the Nibbana, Sariputta Bhante does not leave him there. He says, all right. Now, he says, but brother, is the purification of virtue Nibbana, the final freedom from clinging? He says, no brother, how can it be? Then is the purification of mind Nibbana, the final freedom from clinging? He said, no brother. Then is the purification of view Nibbana, the final freedom? He said, no. Like that, all the 10. Then is the purification by overcoming doubt? No. Then purification by knowledge and vision of what is the right path and what is the wrong path. You see, if you are not on the right path, you can never reach Nibbana. And in the course of sadhana, spiritual development, a stage comes where you are misled, where you have actually not attained Nibbana, but you feel that you have attained, because you are not on the right path. So, in this process, the middle path process, you can know whether the path is the right one or the wrong one. So when he arrives at that stage, he asks, there also he says no. Then the purification by knowledge and vision, the final, is Nibbana. That is the final question. Purification of knowledge and vision of Nibbana, you see. He says no. But brother, is Nibbana, the final freedom from clinging, is to be attained without these states? Then he now says, first of all, he of course said, are you living this holy life for this purpose? He says, no. I am living for Nibbana only. Then he says, if that is the case, you are living for Nibbana, then is development and purification of virtue Nibbana? He says no. And so on. Then, next, he asks, if none of these are nibbana, then the final freedom of then is it possible to attain nibbana without any of these 10 Vishuddhis, 7 Vishuddhis that we've already mentioned? First of all, he says individually no. Then if all of them, is it possible to get nibbana without any one of them or all of them? There also he says no. When asked, then he says, when asked, is the purpose, is purification of virtue nibbana, the final freedom? You replied, no, brother. When asked, is the purification of mind or purification of view, purification by overcoming doubt, purification by knowledge and vision of what is the path and what is not the path, purification by knowledge and vision of the way, middle way, then purification by knowledge and vision of Nibbana itself. Now, these, are you living a holy life because of this? So he replied, no, even to this he says no. And when asked, brother, is Nibbana the final freedom from clinging to be attained without these states? You said no. First of all, you say none of these are Nibbanas. And then he said, well, all of them put together, without them can we achieve Nibbana? He says no. So you got to have them to achieve Nibbana, yet they are not Nibbanas themselves. There is something very profound in that, and we are coming to that. But brother, how should the meaning of these statements be understood? You are saying no to everything. Achha. Then he says, brother, this is an important part of the sutta. He says, brother, if the Blessed Lord had defined, he uses the word defined, purification of virtue as Nibbana, the final freedom from clinging, then he would have defined what is still associated with clinging as Nibbana, the final freedom from clinging. Now virtue is not Nibbana, but it leads to that. It's one of the steps. Purification of virtue. So, he says, if he had defined, yes, the first stage, that's the Nibbana, then he would have defined Nibbana as something which still is associated with clinging, which is the very opposite of Nibbana. Similarly, he puts all the other questions. He says, if the Blessed Lord had defined purification of mind, the whole mind itself, you are able to totally purify, purge of all defilements whatsoever. If you do that, so if the Blessed Lord had defined purification of mind or purification of view, that means the wisdom view, then purification by overcoming doubt, purification by knowledge and vision of what is the path and what is not the path, purification by knowledge and vision of the way, they are leading to enlightenment. Purification by knowledge and vision, you see itself, that is the last one stage. Purification by knowledge and vision as Nibbana, the final freedom from clinging. Then he would have defined what is still associated with clinging. as Nibbana, which is the final freedom from clinging. And if Nibbana, the final freedom from clinging, were to be attained without all these states, then an ordinary person would have attained Nibbana, the final freedom from clinging. For, brother, an ordinary person is without these states. All these 7 stages of purification, an ordinary puthujjana, ordinary man, simply cannot attain. He doesn't have without all these states. He is without these states. That is why he is a puthujjana. He is an ordinary person, he is still caught up in samsaric bondages. So, since you see, if Nibbana could be achieved without these 7 stages or 7 steps of spiritual purification, if Nibbana could be attained without these 7 steps of purification, then an ordinary man could also claim that yes, I got Nibbana. Because he doesn't have all these stages of purification. And that would be ridiculous. So, then he says, for brother, an ordinary person is without these states. These 7 steps he doesn't have. Well, brother, as to this, now regarding this, this is a deep thing, it needs a lot of understanding. So as to this, I shall now give you a simile, an illustration. For a wise person, do understand the meaning of a statement by means of a simile. Because when you give an example, you illustrate it, sometimes the meaning clicks and then you understand it. So continuing, now the Venerable Mantaniputta explains by means of a simile or illustration. Now here is the illustration, a very interesting illustration indeed. He says, brother, suppose that King Pasenadi of Kosala, while living at Savatthi, had to settle some urgent business at Saketa, and that between Savatthi and Saketa he had ordered 7 relay chariots, Ratha, a kind of relay race, you see, relay. 7 relay chariots to be kept ready for him. He had ordered this. Then, brother, King Pasenadi of Kosala, leaving Savatthi through the inner palace door, would mount the first relay chariot. And by means of this first relay chariot, he would arrive at the second relay chariot. Then dismounting from the first chariot, mount the second chariot. And by means of the second chariot, he would arrive at the third chariot. Then by means of the third chariot, he would arrive at the fourth chariot, and so on. Then by means of the fourth chariot, he would arrive at the fifth chariot. Then by means of the fifth chariot, he would arrive at the sixth chariot. Then by means of the sixth chariot, he will arrive at the seventh chariot. And by means of the seventh chariot, he would arrive at the inner palace door at Saketa. Now these 2 places are in United Province, that is in UP, Uttar Pradesh. Savatthi is still there, it's a pilgrim places, people know it. And Saketa is about 100 and odd miles away from Savatthi. And the modern name of that place is Ayodhya, where all this drama is taking place. And soon we are going to have a bigger drama too. And I hope there will be no violence. May the grace of Lord Buddha bring peace in this country and let people behave in a more sober manner. So now, having given this simile, he says, When he had come to the inner palace door of Saketa, if his friends, companions and relatives etc. would ask him, Sire, that means the Maharaja, did you come by the inner palace door at Savatthi to the inner palace door of Saketa by means of this relay chariot, that is the seventh chariot? Now, brother, in order to correctly answer, the king Pasenadi should answer thus. Here, while living at Savatthi, I had some urgent business to settle at Saketa. And between Savatthi and Saketa, I had ordered 7 relay chariots to be kept ready for me. Then leaving Savatthi, leaving Savatthi through the inner palace door, I mounted the first relay chariot. And by means of the first relay chariot, I arrived at the second relay chariot. Then dismounting from the first relay chariot, I mounted the second. And by means of the second, I arrived at the third, then fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh chariot. And by means of this 7th chariot, I have now arrived at the inner palace door of Saketa. He explains this. To be able to answer correctly, he should answer in this way. Even so, brother, this is Venerable Mantaniputta telling Venerable Sariputta. Even so, brother, purification of virtue, now this is the important point. Purification of virtue is for the purpose of reaching purification of mind. Reaching purification of mind. Purification of mind is for the purpose of reaching purification of right view, right understanding of reality. Purification of view is for the purpose of reaching purification by overcoming doubt. Purification by overcoming doubt is for the purpose of reaching purification by knowledge and vision of what is the path and what is not the path. And this is for the purpose of reaching purification by knowledge and vision of the transcendental way leading to Nibbana. And purification by knowledge and vision of this transcendental way is for the purpose of reaching purification by knowledge and vision directly of Nibbana. That means experiencing Nibbana. One thing leads to the other. That is the sum and substance of the whole thing. So spiritual development is not just suddenly becoming enlightened. And you hear, the Japanese have their satori. This is sudden enlightenment. Cheap, very cheap statement indeed. It doesn't happen that way. It is hard work, sincere application that goes in the making of an exemplar of the middle path. Only such a man can attain Nibbana step by step that way. So further, it's very little left now. I will complete it. It is for the purpose of Nibbana, the final freedom from clinging, that the holy life is lived under the Blessed Lord. So he defines clearly that I am not leading the holy life for any one of these intermediate stages, not merely becoming very virtuous and getting the fruit of that There is great fruit in that. We will explain as we proceed. Or when you have total freedom from, the mind is totally pure. All kinds of psychic powers, all kinds of things can happen. But spiritual life is not lived for psychic power or for other powers. But it is for Nibbana. And Nibbana is freedom, final freedom. Because there is freedom before also. So when the final freedom from clinging is achieved, that is Nibbana. That is the goal. So then, now this portion is of course just a little courtesy, I will finish it. When this was said, the Venerable Sariputta asked the Venerable Punyamantani Buddha, what is the Venerable brother's name? Up to now, Venerable Sariputta had never asked him, who are you? No, he did not. So now he is asking, though he knew, he didn't ask. There is a purpose behind. He wanted that the truth must come out of his mouth. He wanted to hear Dhamma from him. And not only hear Dhamma from him himself, but he wanted the future, all of us, also to hear the Dhamma, this truth from him. So out of great compassion for all of us and love for all of us, he made him say all this. Now this is a great thing indeed. So I will complete it. He says, when this was said, the Venerable Sariputta asked the Venerable Punyamantani Buddha, what is the Venerable brother's name and how do the fellow monks in holy life know the Venerable One? Venerable brother, my name is Punna, that is Purna, and my fellow monks in holy life know me as Mantani Putta, the son of Mantani, which in Sanskrit it will be Mantrani, one who is an expert in the Vedic mantras. You see, she was a master mantra. This thing, she was a Brahmin lady, and this Purna happened to be the disciple of Kondanya Bhante, the first one who became the first, you see, Sotapanna and then Arhat. Now continuing, it is wonderful indeed, it is marvelous. Venerable brother, each profound question has been so well answered, point by the Venerable Punyamantani Buddha. As a learned disciple who rightly understands the Master's teachings, indeed it is a great gain for his fellow monks in holy life. It is a great gain for them indeed that they have the opportunity to see and honor the Venerable Punyamantani Buddha. Even if it were by carrying Venerable Punyamantani Buddha, carrying him about on a cloth sling hung on their heads. In Himalaya, people carry their old people with a sling on the head. You know, the old people can't climb. So like that, he gives the example. On the heads, that the fellow monks in holy life would get the opportunity to see and honor him. It would be a great gain for them indeed. And indeed, it is a great gain for us that we have the opportunity to see and honor the Venerable Punyamantani Buddha. Now, this is only the half, the other half. When this was said, the Venerable Punyamantani Buddha asked the Venerable Sariputta, what is the Venerable One's name, please? And how do his fellow monks in holy life know the Venerable One? Venerable brother, my name is Upatissa, and my fellow monks in holy life know me as Sariputta. That is by honoring my mother, Sariputta. Venerable brother, Mantani Putta says, Indeed, we did not know that we were speaking to the Venerable Sariputta, the noble first, the chief disciple of Lord Buddha, who is like the Master himself. If we had known that he was the Venerable Sariputta, we would have not spoken so much. Venerable brother, it is wonderful indeed, it is marvelous indeed. Each profound question has been posed, point by the Venerable Sariputta, as a great learned disciple who understands rightly the Master's teachings. It is a great gain for his fellow monks in holy life. Indeed, it is a great gain for them that they have the opportunity to see and honor Venerable Sariputta, even if it were by carrying Venerable Sariputta about on his cloth hung on their heads, that his fellow monks in holy life would get the opportunity to see and honor him. It will be a great gain for them indeed. Indeed, a great gain for them and great gain for me. It is a great gain for us indeed, a great gain for us that we have the opportunities to see and honor the Venerable Sariputta. Thus it was that these two great spiritual giants rejoiced in each other's good words. Now this is the sutta. I am having translated whatever merit has come through this labor of love. May you all share this merit. This is a wonderful sutta. I wish this just by one reading you are not going to understand. So we will continue with this. By bit we will analyze and go into it. But it is enough for everyone to understand that spiritual perfection leading to enlightenment, that means freedom from the bondages of worldly existence, freedom from karma and punarjanma, the constantly getting involved in karma from morning till night, accumulating all the karmic potencies, and at the end of life, which soon comes, and without giving any warning that, hey, I have come, now come on, be ready to go. Nobody comes and tells that. No Yama comes and says, hey, come here. No. Suddenly we have to quit. Unless we prepare ourselves, then we can go very happily and at a higher level. So, you see, before that, accumulating all these karmas, at the end of life, this potency, power of karma, each action has power, never forget that. And this collective, cumulative power of karma, accumulated throughout life, now at the end of life, catapults you into the next existence. And so on, life after life after life, how many 100 lives, 1,000 lives, million lives we have lived, we don't know. It is time for everyone to seriously think about life. How long to drift in the ocean of samsara? How long to wander in this wilderness of samsaric existence? It makes sense, and a wise man must think deeply. All the theories of religion, all the sectarian mudslinging and all that, absolutely useless. Middle path approach is the right approach, is the approach of wisdom. But that needs hard work, step by step, patiently, and forbearing all the difficulties of spiritual life. One should proceed. With this, I conclude. Next we'll analyze this sutta bit by bit. How to know an enlightened being and benefit from him. That will be the subject. May the grace of Lord Buddha, Buddhanubhavena, may you all be benefited by this sutta. May you all be happy and well. Sukhino bhavantu.